Double9Radio. 9Radio.
It's Double9Radio. It's 1801 103 2025. It's another start. It's another weekend here on Double9Radio.
Radio.
Always amazing to have you on the show. Hope you're having a great time and a wonderful start to the weekend. Hope you had a good one as well. Trust me, we got the amazing lady be here with us on Double9Radio. As always, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful. As you know, the show is always interactive, so you can always be part of the show on 074 956 36899. And you can also watch us live now on YouTube. Now we are live. Make sure you join us there as well and enjoy the interactive session. And you can see Lady B smile as well. Hello, Lady B. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a great, fantastic weekend.
Hello, hello. Yeah, I'm doing okay. How are you? How's the week been?
It's been okay, Lady B. I must say, I've been looking for every time we have a show, it's like 1 week is a very long time, but
Mhm.
what can we say? What can we say? We always
Yeah.
And people always say, "When are you back? When are you back?" And I said, "Look, are you subscribing to us on Instagram? Are you following us on Instagram so you could know when we're going to be back?" But always glad to have you back here on the show. And I know you got something amazing, something wonderful for us as always here on Double R Radio. So tell us, what do you have for us today on Double R Radio?
Okay, yeah, as we always bring it, we're talking about 35 and social. We're talking about intimacy, right? We're talking about how that could be used as a tool of empowerment or exploitation. So for those of you that follow us on social media, you'd have seen our banner. And today's topic is talking about power play or a price to pay. And I know, like, some of the people that follow me on social media, as soon as they've seen that, they're like, what exactly is this talking about? Like, I don't, this is very intriguing. They're very curious to know what we're going to be talking about today. So when we talk about power play and, the price to pay, we're talking about that in relations to, intimacy. And now a lot of people are aware that intimacy can be a source of empowerment. People can use it to navigate social structures. However, yet this could also be an avenue of exploitation to some people. So is it really a power play or is it a price to pay? That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm always blown away when we have Lady B coming through with this as well. Power play, or is there a price to pay? Oh my word, what is it going to be? And we're going to find out and know more about that. I mean, I love the fact you gave a bit of a great introduction there regarding this show today as well. To give us a bit of a, break us into it. Do people use power to get what they want? Is there power play coming out of there as well? Or is there a price to pay, even if you're using some powers and playing? I almost lost my thought. The more can I say? I'm almost blown away. Okay, so let's look at that. I mean, I'm sure the reason for this topic as well, because if we look at what's been happening in the media space currently,
Yeah.
especially a country, we all know, we call it Nigeria, but the Tiwantiwa call it Niger. We know what's been happening out there as well. I mean, we're going to be looking at various aspects of it because I love this topic. And you know me, I'm going to ask you, or we're going to have some discussions as well. And I know you're going to come for me
Yeah,
too.
of course. Always, always.
I know, I know. So, let's look at it. We're talking about power play and is there a price to pay? And you're looking at it from the relationship perspective of it as well. I mean, some people will say, this, and we only talk about females. I mean, we will look at two sides of the story as we go forward as well. So if we look at, obviously we're talking about, sexual favors or intimacy, the price for intimacy. That's why, there's a price to pay there as well. What do we think this favors is an empowerment tool or is it exploitation of individuals? And again, exploitation or empowerment can be either way. We're not talking about female, we're not just talking about male. Trust me, in this day and age, we have, men, paying the price of certain things, because they're subdued to a power play as well. So are we only saying, not only saying that it's just female, again, I'm correcting myself, just putting it out there, But do we think this intimacy or sex favors is it a form of empowerment or exploitation? What are your thoughts?
Of course, I mean, like, as the show goes on, I think it's very important for us to, like, explore both aspects, of the topic,
Yeah.
whether it's a form of empowerment or it's a form of exploitation. Just as you said, with everything that's going on, on the social media trend, it's quite, it's such a very relevant topic, to this day and age, because I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know someone who, is part of this story.
Mm,
Um, so it's such a relevant topic to talk about, but I'm going to start with, empowerment, right? And why some people or why certain people would see intimacy as a tool. Over time, many people have viewed women as, a marginalized group, like men hold all the power,
mm,
men are in, um, the most influential places. If you talk about offices and businesses, in politics, men actually hold most of the power, okay? So yeah, to an extent, women are quite marginalized, right? So some people will argue that intimacy can be a sort of tool
mm.
that women use
Yes.
to navigate, the social structures,
Yeah.
to make sure that they're having relationship, whether personal or professional relationships,
Mm,
with the people that they want to get what they want.
mm,
Okay, so if a woman views a body as a tool or intimacy as a tool or a man, right? But I'm talking about women because, of course, I've started by saying women are often marginalized, right?
yes.
So they're going to use this tool to navigate their way, and they can say, okay, this is what I've got. This is what I'm going to use to make a way for myself or to pave a way for myself.
Mm,
So in that context, some people will view this as a sort of empowerment, for them to be able to get what they want.
mm. Uh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
I think
Uh,
you have
uh,
a question.
no, no. I agree with you, and I love the fact that you know what it's coming from a woman. That
Hmm.
sometimes, you know, yes, it's there. We know sometimes women are quite, can be marginalized, can be, uh, maybe prevented from acquiring certain positions, and
Yeah,
they would say they use what they have to get
to
to
get what they want.
exactly to get what they want. So in some cases, are we in agreement that it can be an empowerment or is it exploitation? That's it. And again, Double9 is holding back. This is
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna give a yes or no answer, because it's a very complex topic.
yeah,
And as much as we're trying to, talk about the topic, it also means to learn from it.
exactly. Yes.
Um, so, but in that context, it would be viewed as empowerment. Now, is it right or is it wrong is an entirely different conversation.
Mhm.
But I believe that many people see it as a means of empowerment. In that sort of scenario, they can define their terms, they can define their conditions. Okay, this is what you want, or this is what I want, this is what I'm willing to give.
Mhm.
And it's sort of a transactional relationship, right? They can define the boundaries, they can define, the dynamics of that relationship. So instead of just doing what, society expects of you, find a partner, get married,
Mhm.
and just go down that go well not say go down, go through that path, right?
Yes.
Women take this and it's a sort of reclaiming their power and saying, well, this is what I want to use, my body to do. I'm going to use it to pave a way for myself. I'm
Mm.
going to use it to get what I want to get out of life. I don't have to follow the status quo. This is what I want to do.
Yeah,
Okay. So I think in that context, that's a form of empowerment, that's a form of liberation, to those women who do that.
we'll do that. Do you know what? We're not going to shy away and not address and not say this because we all know it does happen. We all
Mhm.
know it's something
Yeah.
that is in existence. It's been, done around for ages. Do you know what I mean? So we're not going to say no, it doesn't happen. So most, not most, some women, as you mentioned, would use what they have as an empowerment
Hmm.
to get to a position they will possibly not literally be able to get to.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? We all know it does happen.
Yeah, it does.
But also, we have to look at the other side as well, that in some cases, when we talk about the power play shifting hands, it can be a form of exploitation, which is
Yep.
cases like that where the woman, you know, believes in her own ability, or the female in this case believes in her own ability that they can achieve something, but they have a hindrance going forward because someone is saying, I've got the power, you know, I want to make sure I engage with you intimately before I give you this opportunity, which we see, played out in social media currently. But we'll come back to that in a second. You talk about society. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned society, has we talked about it on the show as well. There's an expectation, especially when it comes to the female. I mean, you know what? Don't let us generalize. No, not just female. I think for both male and female, maybe the timing is just different. Where there's an expectation, get married, have children, have a family, regardless of what your financial situation is. We just want you to do this. But all well and good. But in society as well, as we all know, do we think society also judges women who trade intimacy for opportunities, or do they just accept it?
That is such an interesting question. I feel like it depends on what society, we're talking
Mm,
about. In certain
good.
sort of societies, it's frowned upon, to do those kind of things. But in other societies, like it's just part of the system, right? You do what you need to do, you know, you pay whatever price you need to pay. Um, so I think it depends on what society we're talking about.
True, true.
I'm just gonna use our society for
Yes,
example. I
yes.
feel like a lot of people are aware that most people engage in these sort of activities,
Hmm.
right? I remember, with everything that's been happening recently on social media, and I remember speaking to a friend. Okay, and my friend said that most of these young business, women or young girls, that claim to have started the business from scratch, no one to help them.
Yeah,
That's actually not the case.
yeah,
Many of them had to pay this price, to get what they want. Okay, so in that context, I'll probably say it's I don't know if it's empowerment or if it was a power play because I wasn't behind the scenes, so you can't really tell.
yeah. You can't really
But
tell.
my friend was saying it, blatantly, like there's no one can tell her anything different. Like these ladies are doing it, and they're gonna come out to to come and share the
Testimony.
success story and all of that,
You know,
and they'll
yeah,
tell you, I started from the scratch. I started from the from the ghetto. No one was there to help me, but that's not the truth. That's not the reality. I don't think it's highly frowned upon in our society. I feel
yeah.
like everyone has just come to accept that, it's just one of those things.
Okay.
It's just something that happens,
Mm, yeah,
right? And that's why you see a lot of men, but mostly the women. I don't want to tailor it to just one gender, but you see
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
women, making that tool.
Bold move. Yes.
Yeah, they're glorifying the tool, they're enhancing the tool because it's sort of it's sort of a device, right? Or an
Yes.
agency
Yes.
for them to use to get what they want.
Mm, mm. So we're still
Yeah,
going back to the empowerment part.
yeah,
The exploitation part seems to have diminished because the,
yeah.
the society, let's look at the current example. It's out there everywhere, everywhere it's out there. Do you know what I mean? I mean, one of the things people are talking about is why the call was recorded. I mean, that aside, looking at the conversation and what you just said now, that we have a lot of individuals, mostly female, who come out and talk about I've acquired this, I've done that, I've started from scratch, all of that, all of that, and making others who are actually grafting feel like they haven't done enough.
Mm.
But the true fact about it is, I mean, quite recently, a couple of hours ago, um, this certain lady comes out and says, "I bought a Lamborghini," and you look at that and say, wait a second, what is it that you do? You know, how did you buy a Lamborghini and you're being celebrated? And we talk about society, we talk about let's talk about the social media there, because you have some people defending her actions.
Mm.
Well, you bought a Lamborghini. What is it that you do? There's no real job or something that you do, or something you're promoting. There's nothing. But the society doesn't criticize that. It's almost like they celebrate that and give her a free pass to say, okay, it's fine. But the thing here is, before the issue of her buying the Lamborghini, with the call recording and everything that's out there, it was alleged that things happened or transpired within between two individuals, where one promised another, a Lamborghini, or promised to buy a certain vehicle,
Mm.
and because of that, that led to an intimate exchange that occurred. So if we look at that, so the individual who wanted to be empowered, in a way, empowered in that, by acquiring a Lamborghini, got exploited uh,
Yeah,
in a,
right.
so there's an empowerment exploitation, that exchange that occurred. And when we go back to our topic as well, the power play and price to pay. So there's a power play that occurred where someone was paying the price. But going back to what we talk about, where society comes in, the criticism doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's slight jib jabs about, oh, how many rounds equals one
Yeah.
one car. But the scary part about that is there's no condemnation
Yeah.
of the action of that individual being able to say, this is why I went into this relationship, or this is why I paid. I wanted to pay this price for this particular, uh, you know, a vehicle. There should be an uproar of why is this happening? Because what happens to the younger generation?
Mm.
But I mean that's another topic for another day. But again, it is quite a very dicey engagement. Someone
Yeah.
got empowered. He wanted to be empowered, but got exploited as well. But go forward, when you have the power, you're the power play, and you are the individual who's might be paying a price. At what point do we draw the line? Because now we have a thin line between seduction, persuasion, and manipulation during
Mm.
the power play. Because the person with the power, is he seducing that person? Is it persuading them, or is it manipulating them to, you know, get the price away from them? I mean,
Mm.
where do we draw the line, anyway?
Such a, you said so much. And you said nothing but the truth. I don't think there's any line anymore. And
Exactly.
I think it's quite unfortunate that that's, the world we live in, and that's, the generation of the things we're seeing. I don't think there's any line anymore. I think we're in such a generation where it's like, if whatever you're doing makes you feel empowered,
Mm,
right? Many years ago was the time where you do things like that, and, you would even be ashamed to speak of it,
exactly.
you know. But now it's all over social media, and it's just one of those things, is like, everyone knows that's what's happening, right? Everyone, it's quite an unfortunate scenario, because now it's sad that when you see a successful, person, male or female, you can't even say that, this person pay the right price, right? They're there through hard work, through, determination, diligence, and all of that. You start questioning, like, I mean, you're just selling skincare products. How come you've just bought a house?
Yeah.
Or you just have you have a very small store, and you already have three cars. Like, that's suspicious.
Mm,
So it makes us question who's really genuine.
mm.
And but back to what you said, I don't think there's any line. I don't think anyone's gonna draw a line. I mean, I feel like the line's gone at this point, and I don't know how we can retrace our steps as a society, because everyone is just like, oh, as long as you feel empowered, as long as he's not using you, you're getting what you want from him, and he's getting what he wants from you. So, like,
Okay.
you're paying the price or you're empowering yourself. It's not that big of a deal, because someone else would, do the same to you. So, for example, receive intimacy from you and you get nothing from it. So
Mm,
why not use that as a means or an avenue to get what you want, to navigate the social structures, buy yourself a car or a house, and just, make the best of what you've got.
mm.
But that's the society that we live in, unfortunately, because these things are happening. We know people, we've seen people, we've heard people, just as you said. I don't think there's going to be any line soon. I think it's going to get worse. Because when I
Wow.
saw it on social media, I was like, how do you have the audacity
I
to
mean,
come out to say someone got intimate with you and
yeah,
they didn't buy you a car? I'm like,
it's shocking, isn't it?
yeah.
It
It's
is quite shocking.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, like, is there something more to it?
I,
Like, is it that is it that sweet,
I mean,
Because
like it is shocking, as you rightly mentioned that you're able to come out and say, listen, I did this, I was expecting that. It's like you're actually almost confirming that, you're transactional. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Anyone can sort you out in a
yeah,
way to get there. But
yeah,
while we're talking, I mean, something kind of popped into my mind because when we look at the scenarios as you talk about in a society, there's always this you know should I call it a double standard, or should I call it more of a blame towards the male, saying the male has the power, saying that the male is the one because he has the money, he or she is the one taking over. But I mean, when it comes to use the charm or intimacy for benefits, is it a man that's to blame, or is it a woman? Because the first default thing we always talk about or think about it must be the man. It must be the man. The man, oh, he's the one. Because now look at the scenario now.
yeah.
Some people are blaming the guy and say, why would you do that? Why? But wait a second. She went home with him. You know, she used the charm to say, okay, I'm coming home. She was trying to play the long game.
Hmm.
Saying, oh, I don't want to see her, blah blah blah. I'll come back and see. Do you know what I mean? Playing the long game. He's using that charm to string him along. Do you know what I mean? But in a way, the power play was on one hand because the guy was willing to pay anything. He was willing to pay, the price at a certain time. But at some time, at a point, the power play shifted. The intimacy now, who was paying the price now shifted, and all hell broke loose. I was like, ah. But again, is it a double standard to just say only the man is to blame in situations like this? Because the woman is using some intimacy and look for benefits as well. Older, both are looking for benefits, but society would say, it's the man. What's your take on that?
So when I saw that story on social media, the first thing was like, I just read the headline. I read a bit of it, but I was just like, I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm not interested in that. So
Yeah,
I don't have the full context of what's happened.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like if, two adults agree, to certain conditions,
yeah.
then you need to meet up to, whatever part of your agreement was.
Mm, mm,
So I would assume that the man said, we're gonna have we're gonna get intimate, and the lady said, "Oh, you're gonna buy me, a car or Lamborghini,
Mhm.
right?" And for some reason, he didn't keep his part of the promise. If I'm wrong, correct me, because I don't have the full.
Okay. Karen.
I don't have the full details because I was just not interested in that stuff. I was just like, this is shameful. This should not even be on social media. So I feel like if they both agree to it, right, then, I don't think anyone's to blame, right?
Okay.
In that situation, the lady is the victim, and I would assume that the man manipulated her
Mm,
because she was very clear from the onset that this is what I want, and he said, this is what I want.
mm,
And you both agreed to it. So if the man, for some reason, didn't keep to his part of the agreement, then I would assume that he manipulated her and she's the victim. However, if it was a situation where one person had a certain expectation and didn't make that clear, and you're saying, oh, because I did this, I want this in
right.
return.
Right.
Do you understand? Well,
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. I mean, I would tend to agree with your points there, which is quite, you know, uh, clear. Because we did mention, the thin line between seduction, persuasion, and manipulation. I think all of those things actually happen.
yeah,
I
yeah, I
think
think so.
there's a point where the said individual was trying to seduce this person. You know,
Mm,
let me seduce this person. Send her a drink, whatever. I want to send her, gifts or invite her around to a club when I'm there. You know, persuaded her using the phone call, texts, then eventually use the last manipulation technique. You know what? Okay, you want a Lambo? Okay, but I'll give you a Lambo instead as well. So it is quite it is quite funny that this thing still happen. You're quite right. Okay, I mean it's not that it's not common, as you rightly mentioned. It's a
yeah,
very common thing. But I think it's something that the society needs to check itself
yeah,
and stop encouraging, this type of behavior, because it is not right. It's not right because, it's not an achievement to, buy a big car or things like that. That's not an achievement. But let's move on a bit away from that. Okay.
yeah,
We also see power play and price to pay around when there's an intimacy exchange in some other categories or industries. I mean, let's look at the workplace, for example. Again, it's society based. It's on societies. It happens. I think it happens in most societies, but it's
yeah,
not common. It's not as common when you compare to
yeah.
other societies as you go for as we explore further. Um, but do we think someone can actually slip their way to the top? Pun intended. Can you
Yep,
slip all the way to the top? Can it happen?
yep. I think it can happen. I think it does happen. Yeah, I think so. I think people can sleep their way to the top. But it's quite unfortunate that when I hear these things,
Mm,
the only thing my mind thinks of is women, women, women.
I
Because
know.
yeah, I think women are more on the, receiving end of, this topic.
Okay.
I know there are some men,
Mm,
I don't think it's as I don't think we have as much men as women when we talk about.
okay.
I'm not saying men don't sleep their way to the top.
I agree. I agree. But what I want to say is, we know we always turn it on the head when we talk about, when we have conversations like this. All well and good. It seems very obvious to say the women are the ones paying the price of intimacy,
Mm,
and the man is the one that's got a power play. But let's look at it objectively.
okay.
A woman is set out and says, I want to be a senior person within this organization. The woman understands the charm and the benefits of intimacy. And women are very intelligent, very lovely women. I love you all. Very intelligent individuals. So a woman has picked out her prey and says, "This is the person that will get me where I want to get to." So when a woman targets a prey, succeeds in capturing that prey, and seduces, persuades, and manipulates, because there's like three levels of the process of that individual to say, put me in that position, empower me in that position. So if we look at all of those steps, do we now still say, or do you still agree that men are the one playing the power or have the power play? Or is it
No.
the woman that has the power play in this situation?
Okay, that's such an interesting twist. And I like the way you flip the coin. Um, but yeah, in that context, I wouldn't say the man is the one who's doing the power play
Mhm.
because the woman is very aware of the situation she's getting herself into.
Yes.
She has decided, to um use intimacy, to do a power play to get her to where she wants. She's very aware of what she's doing. So of
100%.
course not. It's not the no, you can't blame the man in that situation because she knows, oh my, I've got a, banging buddy, banging set. I'm
Mhm.
going to use this to get to where I want. I want to be the MD. I want to be the, whatever position she desires. And she's like, oh, this man, I see the way he stares at me in the morning.
Mm.
That's my target. So in that situation, of course not. I wouldn't say um, because she's very aware. But
Yes.
my question is
Mm.
situation where the woman is not aware, right? So let's say two people were vying for the same position, a senior position, right?
Yeah.
A male and a female,
Mm.
and the person they need to convince is a man,
Okay.
right? I'm going to twist it if it were a woman, right?
Yeah.
They need to convince a man to put them in that position.
Okay.
Now, in most cases, well, let me not say most cases,
Some
in
cases.
some cases, the man is probably gonna ask to be intimate with that woman.
In
And
some
even at
cases,
that,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, in some cases, maybe not many, maybe not most, but in some cases, it would ask to be intimate
Mm.
with that woman so that she can get what she wants.
Yeah.
Right? But how does that translate to a man? Like, what do they ask from men in return? Doesn't seem like they ask men anything.
Mm. Mm.
Do you understand what I mean? Like, from women, it seems like you could get something in return. But what do you get from a man if you want to help him or if you want to do him a favor? Like,
Yeah, I mean, in most
I'm
cases,
trying
it's helping a brother, isn't it? Helping a brother and
okay.
putting them forward. In most cases, hopefully the guy's not on the other side, kind of thing. So, I mean, I get your point. You know, okay, is this still a power play? Is the woman still in control? No, maybe she doesn't want that. She's paying a price because she wants that job. So, yes, she's paying a price for intimacy. Not we're not saying it's right. Please don't
Mhm.
get us wrong. We're just highlighting the fact that these things happen out there, but it should be called out when it happens. I mean, we have a typical example of another one within the Senate, Senate House of a particular country, Nigeria, I would say it, where there's been accusations of you know senior members within the Senate allegedly saying uh, they could give sexual favors to someone if if they want a higher place within the Senate as well, which I think is quite horrible. Again, it goes back to the society because
Mm,
in some societies, if that ever occurred or is spoken about, there'll
mm.
be an immediate resignation of that individual, or at least a step down of that individual who's been accused until a proper investigation has been carried out. But what do we see? We see, lawsuits flying up and down, left and right, you know,
Yeah.
which is quite like, what's going on, you know? So again, society has a role to play in all of that. Okay, so we're talking about 35 and social. This is our show, where we talk about relationships. So let's bring it into a bit of like the relationship field as well. So we've looked at the aspects of social media where there's a transactional engagement with
Yeah.
people. We're talking about Lamborghini, but no, you got the Lamba, and you came out to particularly talk about it as well. We're talking about a bit of the workplace shenanigans as well, and also people being able to sleep their way to the top. But also, when we look at from the relationship and power dynamics, um, it's in some relationships, the power dynamics, does change or shifts. It could be a financial. It's mostly financial, isn't it? Because I think we, you know, in a relationship where maybe the woman is earning more, let's start with that, earning more than the man, relationship. Is it quite, does it become kind of a, shall I say, how do I put this without being too bad? You know, would it be a fair exchange if one party is at an exchange at a disadvantage? What do I mean by that? In a relationship where the woman is financially more stable than the man, right? The power play and price for intimacy exist. It's been flipped over, right? So in some cases, as a man, sometimes we might not be in the mood of stuff, but because the missus is the financially stable one, you know, and she's in the zone, she's in the mood, and you guys are meant to be going on holiday, and she's paying for the holiday. What do you do? What, what do you do?
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? What do you do in that case? You know, the power has shifted. Yeah. Are you gonna, you know, your intimacy, you're gonna pay a price for intimacy at that point in time. But does that make it a fair exchange? How do we handle that?
Huh, that's that's a an interesting one. Just because, I wasn't seeing it from that perspective
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
but I would argue that I don't think, power just has to do with like finances.
Okay.
So I don't think the person who has the highest earning power holds all the power, in that relationship.
Okay.
Because I mean, if the coins were flipped over and, two people in a relationship and the man is in the mood and he wants to pay for holidays, I'm sure the lady would be more than happy to want to go.
Yeah.
So if the coins are flipped over and the woman's feeling the mood and she wants to pay, you know, to go on holidays, I don't see why there should be a problem with that. But in relation to the topic, talking about how that could be like a power play, I mean, if that's happening in a relationship, then that's quite questionable, because I
It
mean,
is.
at the end of
It
the
is.
day, this person is your partner or your significant other or whatever it is. Um, but if they're using it as a tool to
Mm,
manipulate or to exploit, then that's an entirely different conversation.
mm.
Um, but I wouldn't say that, oh, whoever is earning the highest in that relationship holds all the power. Sometimes if you look at people in positions, some of them it might not have to do with, finances, it might not have to do with money,
Mm.
maybe just influence.
Okay. Okay. I got one. I got one which is quite common, right? Okay. Over here in the UK, this might relate, a lot of people might be able to relate to this. Um, most people come here with a student visa, right?
Yeah.
Which has a tenure where you have to renew and all of that once you go to school, and most people want to stay. Okay, a lot of
Yeah.
people go through this. I think this should be a topic at some point as well. So now
Oh,
you meet. So you are a guy. Let me do a guy. We'll flip it as well. A guy who is on a student visa. You come to this country. you've gone out to a, to an event, and fortunately you meet a very lovely young lady, and this lady is a British citizen as well. And in that case, the power play and price to pay, tips in her balance now,
Okay.
because now she's a British citizen. It's very,
But
it's
something you want.
exactly, it's something what it's quite possible that you guys can get married and you can get your, you know, naturalized that way. Hopefully, it's a real relationship. But let's look at the dynamic of that relationship. When we're talking about the power play and price to pay. I mean, not maybe intimacy in this case. You know, can that be a real relationship? And can love exist within that relationship, or would it be a transactional type of relationship? Transactionally, not only physical but emotional as well. And why do I say this? Because can the guy truly be himself in that relationship? Can he truly be himself? Can he truly express his emotions,
Hmm.
both the loving emotion and also maybe the not so loving emotion kind of thing? Can that be a real relationship as well? What are your thoughts on that dynamic type of relationship?
Okay. That example is such a different one from the one, I was
Yeah, yeah,
examining previously. And I feel like it's very relative, because there are people that, have those kind of relationships and they were true, they were genuine. But I also understand where you're coming from because, just as you said, this is someone who's seen a woman who's got something he wants.
Mm,
So definitely the power is in her favor
yeah.
because she's got something that you want and that you desire. Now, can you be your true self in showing all that you truly are? Because
Mm,
there's certain things you might want to hide about yourself because you don't want this person to see that and you don't want them to lose interest because there's something you stand to gain at the end of that relationship.
mm,
So it's such a difficult position to be in. Um, so it's quite tough to navigate if I'm being honest, because if the man has seen a lady that's got something he wants
mm,
and he decides that this person holds all the power, at the end of the day, we come back to the point where is how are they navigating that relationship?
mm,
Because if the lady's aware that, okay, this is why this person is with me, and
mm,
then she's using that as a power play,
mm.
manipulate him to
Exactly.
get him to do things he wouldn't want to do or doesn't want to do or that he's never done before,
Yes,
that's a big problem,
it is. It is.
right? Because the power is in her favor
Mm,
and the young man's being, exploited.
mm,
But now when you think about it in the other way,
mm,
and the man has paid his price in full and he's got what he wants,
mm.
was he really exploited, or the relationship was exploited, the woman was exploited, and now he's got what he wants?
Mm,
Because he's finally received the prize, he's paid his price, he's gotten his reward.
mm.
You know, it's such a tricky, dynamic to even think about.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know,
It is. You know what? It all brings it home.
yeah.
It all brings it home because power play and
Mm,
price play is such a temporary state.
mm.
Because we're talking about exploitation and empowerment. The exploiter can eventually be the empowered,
Yep, yep.
and and
And
the
the
top
empowerment
and the
can
top
be exploited.
exploited. You
That
know,
is true. Yeah.
and also the person with the power can eventually be the one paying the price.
Yep. That is so true.
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know if you know this story. What's the title of that it was a popular show, 90 Days Something.
Oh yeah,
With,
90 Day Fiance. Yeah.
yeah, and that the person with the power play
Yeah.
eventually started paying the price,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that. I think I remember the two contestants you're talking about. Because
yeah.
like my man was taking a lot of, you know,
He was taking all of it,
taking
paying the price at the time.
pay the price at the time, but eventually he now become, you know,
Yep.
the power guy. But the
Yeah.
question is, it's all well and good that all this can happen, but how much price are we willing to pay?
Wow. That
Yeah.
depends on the person.
Mm,
That I think some people, I mean, it's oh my God, that's such a deep question.
I know.
I mean, let's take it back to that, situation of, the 90 days, contestants we're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like that guy paid the price with his mental health,
I'm telling you. Every
his his pride, his
yeah.
ego, is everything.
Mm,
Everything was shattered. Now, when you compare that and then you think about your reward, is
mm.
it really worth it at the end of
Wow.
the day? I feel like
Wow.
that's an individual question every person needs to answer for themselves. Because at the end of the day, you say, I want to pay this price. I'm going to pay whatever price it takes.
Mm,
Instead of following the legal price or the legal steps
mm,
that has been laid down for you. But you wanna take a shortcut, but that shortcut could be the longest route you've ever taken in your life.
mm.
Because the price
Wow.
you pay on that way,
Yes.
it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental, it's everything.
Everything. It's
So at what point do you say this is, you know, it's such a huge price to pay?
mm.
I'm just gonna need to take a step back now. I'm just gonna need to step down from this position I've unfortunately found myself in. And I feel like a lot of people don't ever take that step back.
They don't.
They're just willing to pay whatever price it takes
Mm.
to get a car, to buy a house. Is it really worth it?
Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? I mean, I could agree with you more. And as you say, and describe, you know, the cost of actually, achieving what you deem is the prize because you
Yeah.
want to go the fast route. We'll bring it back to the first thing we're talking about, where people are. We talked about. I think we asked a question around exploitation and empowerment. Using that intimacy to get your empowerment. But how much of those intimate moments will take you to get to that empowered state you want to get
Yeah.
to? What price are you paying at that point in time just to achieve the Lambo? Well, you got Lambert, for example. You know, how much of that intimacy are you willing to give up?
Mm,
Because there's always a saying that a woman's time goes really quick
mm,
in a way, but we're not only focusing on women, even men as well, because you're sacrificing certain things and saying, "Oh my God, I need to get this, I need to get this, I need to get that,"
yeah.
you know. But how much are you willing to pay? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at in some circumstances, people would say, "You know what? I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. I've suffered so much. I'm willing to pay any price." But the thing here is, when you get to start paying that price, do you still think it's worth it? Of how much is taken away from you? You mentioned mental health there for that particular individual, which I'm sure he's still battling with because
Yep.
he had to be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
He had to, uh, you know, put on a different persona
Yep.
from what he knew. Because the relationship now was all because he wanted to get empowered. He wanted
Mm,
to achieve, that state which he thought was the empowerment state.
yeah.
So it is a question to deal with and talk about. You know, the dynamic of that relationship, as we point out with the example you gave, it's almost like a transactional thing because you're just waiting to get empowered. But again, we're not trying to say all relationships, like the one we defined, ends up in that way. No, because some people, fall in love truly and, want to stay in a relationship and, make it work and all of that. But I mean, the power play and price to pay. I mean, Lady B, a couple of final words to our listeners because I'm eager, but I want to give you, the floor first to share your thoughts on this power play because we've looked at different perspectives today. We looked at the perspective of individuals coming out and saying, this is my price. We've looked at how the society reflected or reacted to that. We also looked at in the workplace, and finally we looked at different examples on relationship, different dynamic, relationship types or different dynamics in a relationship. So,
Yeah.
what would you say to our listeners today who might find themselves in one or two of the different scenarios we have described this evening?
Okay. With everything you just said, I'm just gonna, briefly mention a story that's just come to my mind now.
Yeah.
I was seeing a YouTube video. It's a very popular Nigerian, love relationship hunting show. And there was this lady, young girl, who, she's got this amazing voice, and then she sang on the show. And then a man came because they had like lineup of ladies, and then the man came in, looked very good, seemed like a very rich person, and then he says, "Oh, I'm a manager to so, a popular artist," right? And then everyone was like, "Oh, wow, this guy's well to do and all of that." And then he brought a gift for the host, started promising all the ladies jobs, gave
Wow.
out perfumes. And then he tells this girl in particular,
Yeah.
asked her to sing. And then, he told the girl he's going to sign her to his record label that day.
Seduction.
Get it somewhere. I don't know. Have you seen it?
No, no.
Okay, good. And then he promised to sign her up to his record label that day. He's gonna get her a house.
Wow.
They're gonna start, releasing music. They're gonna take her to London
Persuasion.
in about 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, something, I'm curious about something. Why is it that no one has signed you up until now? And then the girl was very honest. She was like, oh, because, most people that meet me, they want to sleep with me. And the guy was like, that's normal now. On national TV. Like,
Wow.
I was shook. It was like, that's normal now. What do you think? Like, that's the price to pay for the success that you want. And then
Yeah.
he mentioned the name of a very popular, Afrobeat artist, and it was like she paid the price as well.
Mm,
Because if you don't pay the price to me now, you're gonna want to feature other male musical artists, and they're gonna ask you to pay that price. So
blimey.
you may as well start paying that price to me. And I was like, the audacity to say that.
On live TV.
And I went through the comment sections.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I was seeing?
They were agreeing with it. It was
People were saying, God, let this sort of favor locate me and my family.
blimey. Again.
Like,
Wow.
no one called the guy out. It was like, oh, you're so blessed, you're so favored, you're so this, you're so that. And I was like, not everything that looks like an answered prayer is actually an answered prayer. Not every door that opens requires you to walk through it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what we're talking about. Like, it's so
Mm,
it's so normal in our society
it is.
that, people are just happy that someone is willing to accept the price that you want to pay.
Mm,
Because sometimes nobody even asks you to pay a price. They're not even interested. But if
mm,
you find that opportunity and someone says pay that price, you're willing to pay whatever price it takes.
wow.
For me, as a person, you know, um, just gonna, try to close now. it's such a shame that that's the society that we live in, and that's the world that we live in.
Yeah.
If it's something happening between two consenting adults, I have no business whatsoever in the relationship. That's entirely up to them.
Yes.
But I feel like, for, young people coming up, future generations coming up, I feel like, they need to know this is not the sort of values that we want to pass to them.
Yes.
Where something has to give. You have to get into a transactional relationship to make headway in life.
Mm.
You could do it on your own. There are people who have done it on their own. Well, not do it on their own, but like done it without, paying the so-called price of intimacy.
Mm.
So it is possible. You may think that that's tough, but that road that you're seeing could actually be tougher because you probably be paying a lot more than just maybe getting the better degree, bettering yourself, bettering your skills. You probably be paying with your mental health,
Yes.
your medical health, diseases, sicknesses.
Exactly.
So you need to ask. I feel like most people don't take a time to actually ask themselves, what price am I willing to pay for this thing that I want so bad?
Mm.
If you don't sit down to ask yourself that price, as soon as that door opens, you just jump into it, and then you see they just keep asking and asking and asking and taking and taking and taking
Mm.
until there's none of you left to give. So everyone needs to sit down to ask themselves, what price am I willing to pay? How far am I willing to go? And if you realize it's not a price you're willing to take, then you may as well just find, the right route for you, like the right thing to do. Um, yeah, that's those are my closing words.
Amazing. I'm lost for words because you've said it all. You've said it all. I mean, that example you gave there, it's such a shocking response from the public as well. I think there's needs to be, uh, you know, uh, a change in the way people react
Yeah.
to this kind of situations. But I mean, as you also mentioned that as well, that I mean, if it's between two consenting adults, you know, everyone has the way they want to live their life. But as you rightly mentioned there, the price you pay from your mind or any individual who's listening to us right now, who might be thinking, I want to get to a certain position. I want to acquire certain things. I want to, you know, achieve. I want to be known. I want to be seen and willing to pay any price at any cost. Your desperation is giving you the drive to want to
Mm,
pay the price at the moment. But once you start or find yourself in a situation where truly you need to start paying the price,
mm,
you might find that it might not be worth it. But again, every individual has their own destiny in their hands. But the question
yeah.
to always ask yourself is, how expensive would the price be to myself? Is it
Mm,
too much? Or what is too much of a price? Lady B rightly mentioned again, your mental health is a typical factor. Your sexual health is another thing a lot of people don't consider. And various other things that we don't even talk about or discuss. All well and good. The Instagram pictures, the baddies as they're always talked about, or the big boys with the flashy things. But you never know the price they pay behind the scenes. Anything you set your mind on is always achievable. Put your mind and your dedication into your work and do what you enjoy and reap the success without paying the price. It's been wonderful here on Double9 Radio with amazing lady B on 35NSocial. Hope you had a great time with us this evening. Thank you to everyone sending in the comments as well. I do apologize. I didn't read all these comments. I just see that, you're all agreeing with what we are saying. But in the meantime, you can always catch up or recap on the show on YouTube and rewatch it live as well. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. It's been great having you with us here on Double9 Radio this evening. Lady B, as always, it's fantastic to have you here on Double9 Radio. Hope you had a great time as well.
Yeah, it's always great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Lady B, as always. Lady B has always been an amazing host on Double Nine Radio. But in the meantime, stay locked on, stay locked in. As you know, we always bring great vibes and great, amazing music here on Double Nine Radio. It's been wonderful. It's been great. Have a wonderful weekend. And we shall be speaking to you next week again on Double Nine Radio. But make sure you do tell a friend about Double Nine Radio and follow us on Instagram as well to catch up with great shows on this amazing station. We're back again tomorrow on the Can Expression Sunday. It's been a minute. It's been wonderful. It's been a while. But we have a amazing Chrissy back here on Double 9 Radio.